Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good. And so you're coming to us all the way from Vietnam.
I am, yes.
And you've been traveling around Southeast Asia for, you said, like, what is it, 5 months now?
This is my fifth, going on my 6 month. Yeah, so I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand for 3 months, and then I've been in Da Nang, Vietnam for the last 2 months.
Cool. And so you're planning to stay there in Vietnam until you come back to Canada?
Well, my plan was to actually go to Bali for 3 months, but with the COVID-19 situation going on right now, it's looking like I'll be in Vietnam for a while, because yeah, borders are closed and flights are about 3 times more expensive than they were prior to me leaving. So
Really? I
who
thought
would have
they'd be
thought, eh?
dirt cheap. I thought they'd be dirt cheap.
Yeah, they're very expensive right now.
Wow. So are you feeling safe there?
Yeah, so there's only about 240 cases in all of Vietnam. Vietnam's a country of almost 80 million people. And in Canada alone right now, I think there's 17,000 as of this morning's numbers.
Mm.
So yeah, it's very, very different. I think being so close to China, they were very proactive. They had a lockdown, and they started to implement practices of testing and everything about 2 months ago. So they were about a month ahead of the curve before North America got ahead of it. So yeah, it's paid off big time for them.
That's awesome. I heard from a friend of mine who's just back from Thailand, and she said the same thing. She said, I felt safer in Thailand than I do here.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I know nobody's hoarding stuff, and people are just very much more collective minded. Like
mm,
if somebody goes to the store and gets a bunch of hand sanitizer, they're going to bring it back to everybody in their community, not just stockpile it in their basement for them to use. You know what I mean? It's a different mentality over here for sure.
that is different
Yeah,
than here for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And so are you bound to your home, or is it just go out and do whatever you want?
So technically, they call it a lockdown. So they've done it in little kind of increments. So last month we did one for about 7 days, which was just to kind of slow things down. So all the gyms were closed, restaurants were shut down, and then it was opened up for about a month, and then it shut down again as of April 1st, and it goes from April 1st to April 15th.
Okay, so they're doing it in little
Yeah,
spurts.
yeah. So everything's closed right now. So when I go out on there's nothing open. So I've
Interesting.
had, except for grocery stores and pharmacies, that's it.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you're feeling safe, and it sounds like they've got it well under hand. So that's great.
Yeah, it has been good.
Good.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I wanted to, I'm really excited that you could come on the podcast. And one of the
Hmm.
things that I really wanted to hear from you, I mean, the podcast is called Broken Open, right? And so it's
Hmm.
about growth, right? And I
Hmm.
know that you have been on a massive growth curve,
Hmm.
I would say in the last year, more than that. But I mean, I feel like you're like, if you look at the, if you want to graph it, you've been like this, and now you're like this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
massive, massive growth. So what's going
Yeah.
on? Do you want to tell us about
Oh man, I'm just still trying to make sense of it myself, to be honest. But um, I I'll kind of talk to a little bit about where I've been in the last week. Um, I took social media break the last week because I was feeling extremely overwhelmed with stuff that was happening in the world and the planet, and I'm very sensitive to energy.
it?
And there's a big shift happening right now on this planet, and it was starting to kind of impact me in a way that I needed to become more still. I needed to be more present with myself, and really become centered, so I could really work with some of this energy that was transpiring. And really what it is for me is it's been a lot of shadow work, and that's what the last year has been building up towards, is shadow work. And I really frame shadow work as it's befriending the aspects of yourself that you may have split off from in throughout the course of our development. So oftentimes when we go through puberty, we find things about ourselves that aren't desirable, that we don't like about ourselves. And for me, it was being gay, and it was being different than people, and not feeling like I belonged, and being ostracized and things. So I internalized that, and I had done a lot of work with the conscious aspect of it, but I think the subconscious stuff was playing behind the scenes, and it was really interfering with aspects of my life. A lot of it was within my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to do this shadow work, and I really came up against a lot of shame. And it was repressed shame and repressed aspects of myself that I didn't really want to have to face. And in the last year, I decided to face them, and I decided to go and befriend them, because I was approaching it from a mentality of perfectionism for so long, about trying to change and fix who I was. But really it was my big epiphany was, how can I embrace who I am exactly as I am? And that was a big change for me, and that started to take place about a year ago. And then I decided to go on this big adventure where I was practicing letting go and surrendering, and making peace with impermanence, which was something I really struggled with. And using so much control in my life, and all those aspects that we all kind of get to a place in our lives where we just want to start grappling with these things. And it really accelerated my spiritual transformation. And about 5 months into the I call it the adventure of a lifetime. And so that last week was all about integration, and I've been doing so much work on just practicing loving myself and whatnot. And I got to a point where I was feeling really overwhelmed with all the stuff that was happening around me, the peripherals.
Yes.
And I decided I wanted to just go into a period of complete stillness. So I took 7 days away from social media, and I just did a lot of meditating and practiced stillness, and kind of filled up my bucket, because I do a lot of giving in my profession, and it's always about the other. So I needed some time to recharge me. And yeah, it was a very intense week.
Are you feeling good?
I'm feeling good. Yeah.
You look great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
You
you.
look super relaxed and super centered. You do.
Yeah.
And
Thank
as I've
you.
been reading your posts, I've watched your business evolve while you've been traveling, and
Yeah.
your posts are getting more and more articulate and insightful.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I'm like,
you.
wow, something big's going on with Matt.
Yeah. Yeah. Big shifts.
Like, you're just
Big shifts.
nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. My business is taking so many turns right now, and I'm feeling a little bit, I've been aligned to my dharma, like my purpose, forever. I've known what I've wanted to do for a long time. Like, since I had my own addiction, I knew I wanted to get into addiction counseling, and my dharma is to help people find the best version of themselves. That won't change, but the expression of how I put that forth onto this planet is changing, and it's actually changing very rapidly right now, with just me being it's alignment almost. And what's happened in the last little while, which is interesting, is I kind of got caught up in the whole ego of my work, which is being opportunistic and looking for ways to kind of insert myself so I could, have more following, or have more this, or have more that. And what this last week taught me was, it's not about opportunity, it's about alignment. And now I'm coming into alignment with my purpose, and not looking at it through the lens of hoping for results, just doing the work that I do for the truth and the rightness of doing that work. And it's been a really cool week to ground me in that, because it's not about followers, it's not about this, it's not about that, any of that sort of stuff, or even making money. It's about doing what I do because I love what I do, and helping the people that I know are following my path because they feel my path, because
Yes.
they're on a similar path to mine.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm not there yet. I'm just kidding. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm still
Yeah.
thinking about opportunity, and I'm still thinking in terms of, funnels, and I'm still like, I
Yeah.
feel like I it's not about me, but I think, as you're talking, I'm like, wow, I've got my toe in that water, but I'm not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about shadow work, I remember you and I sitting down at Luke's
Yeah.
probably about a year ago, sitting at the counter there having a coffee, and you first brought this idea of shadow work up to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you, like, who are your guides and how did you know to start digging into this? And who's like, how are you, like, what path are you following and how are you
Yeah.
finding it is what I want to
Yeah.
know.
Oh man, to be honest, my path really is just trust and faith. And I've been working with my guides, but this is a very new thing for me. Like, I know they've always been there because I know I've been guided and I know I've been taken care of since I was a kid. But I've never had a relationship with them. It's always just been about synchronicity and letting things unfold. But I've been working with some people in the last, this is very new, so 3 months, and starting to develop a relationship with some of my guides and what they're about. And it's a very my whole life I've been so tangible. I need to see things outside myself, and that's why I've never developed a relationship with these energies. And now I'm starting to develop a relationship inside myself, and it's changing a lot of that stuff. So the shadow work, I got. I've always known about this stuff because of archetype work and, you know, working with Carl Jung's work and stuff in throughout my counseling years, but I had never actually done the work myself.
Yes.
But it was actually through shame exploration is where it came up, because shame is all about denying yourself.
Right.
And when you start to accept yourself, you start to make peace with those things, and that really is what shadow work is about. It's about embracing yourself in the light and the dark, and knowing that we all, every human being on this planet has a light and a dark side to themselves, and we're all in that balance or out of balance, right, between those two polarities.
Mhm.
And we all deny it, right, because none of us want to admit that.
No, and it's really hard to dig into that stuff because it's not pleasant. Like the stuff
It's not.
you came across, like you described this as an adolescent, you know, you came across things and you didn't like them, so you moved away from them and you started to develop a different
Yeah.
sort of, like you say, a more tangible, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. And now you're going back and digging into some really uncomfortable
Yeah.
things. Like you said, this last week was really hard. I mean, you took a break from social media and you went inside and you're saying, man, that was a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a lot of work.
Definitely.
Like it's not a break.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's very
Wow.
true.
I love what you said about befriending the shadow side. Like I think about working through it and getting, like, putting it to rest, but that's not
Yeah.
what you're describing. You're talking about like sort of pulling it all together and embracing it. The people who are only listening to audio, I'm doing this circle with my hands. So there's like
Yeah.
like this whole being that you're sort of just loving.
Yeah. Yeah. This work came up for me. Like, I really believe that I learn just as much from my clients as they learn from me, because people are attracted into my experience because of the energy I'm putting out.
Mhm.
And therefore my clients are my mirror just as much as I am a mirror to them. So when I was working with clients, I was attracting a lot of people who were grappling with this idea of clearing. I need to clear this aspect of myself. I need to get rid of this weight. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it was all about rejection. I need to
Yeah.
reject this aspect of myself. And I started to see this, and I was started to point this out to my clients. And I'm like, I was going against myself, because my business, my opportunistic self is all about bring people in that want to change, because I want to help you change. And then it started to evolve. I'm like, I can't do this anymore, because there's nothing about you that needs to change, right? There's things about you need to learn to love and accept. And then once you do, you come from a place of respect for yourself, and those things naturally change. But when we come from this place of feeling like we need to be fixed, there's something about the universe that doesn't align with that. And I've seen people be on fitness and nutrition plans and work them to a T and never freaking lose weight, because energetically they are holding on to this weight because they aren't in a place of alignment with what they should actually be doing, or could actually be doing, I'll say.
It's true. I
It's
used to
so true.
exercise hard. I used to eat really, well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't eat that well. I ate okay. But I would go
Yeah,
through periods of eating really well. But I couldn't keep weight off until I started learning how to let go.
exactly.
It was
Yeah,
fascinating. And as I've
yeah,
learned to let go over these past 2 years,
yeah,
I'm a different size. It's amazing.
yeah. Isn't that amazing? And we're made up of cells, and those cells oscillate in energy, right?
Yeah.
So if we're always feeding these cells with dense shadow energy, then it's going to hold dense shadow energy, and then we get caught up in feeling and looking the way that our vibration is, right? It's very cool work. I just actually got into studying some quantum physics
Mm.
and exploring that aspect of stuff, and it's wow, it's really cool stuff.
Gosh, the name Dr. Joe Dispenza just popped into my head. Have you been reading
Yes,
his stuff?
he's the so I watched the movie What the Bleep Do We Know, and he's in there as a guest speaker, and that's how I got connected to some of his work.
So I've
Yeah,
got one of his books on audio that's quite good, and my brother and I've been messing around with it a bit.
nice.
So your business has evolved now. Like when I met you, when I first met you, you were still doing drug counseling, I think,
Yeah,
and then you were moved out of drug counseling and you went into fitness coaching.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now, how would you describe your business today?
Oh God. Okay. So addiction counselor for 10 years, fitness nutrition coach
Yes.
for about 3 years. And then I moved online 2 years ago and I did online fitness and nutrition coaching. Didn't been doing that for the last 2 years. And then just in the last 6 months, I've been really bringing back in this counseling piece, but I call it coaching. So transformation coaching. And, I was I turned it over to about 7 or 8 months ago called Landsiedel Coaching,
Yep.
where I wanted to start to blend all these aspects, so fitness, nutrition, and coaching, mindset coaching together. And then I just noticed organically I started to um, lose clients in the fitness nutrition area. My interest in that area started to kind of feel a little bit questionable, so I started to move over into more of this focus. And I started to do some work with gay men. So the gay man's coach, looking at unmasking shame and learning to step into our authenticity as gay men. And that was just the last month I made that change. And I was sitting with it and I was like, you know what, this doesn't feel right. There's something about it that it feels very exclusive, and that doesn't resonate with me and what I'm about. And so just this week, coming out of this week, I've changed everything to this new brand, and it's going to be kind of like the turning of a new page. And it's called Inspired to Be Authentic.
I like it.
So it's still going to be working with gay men, but it's not going to be exclusive to gay men. It's going to be working with people who want to just live their best life. And the question of it is, how can I be the, oh, what is it? Hold on. Sorry, I just wrote this yesterday. I'm going to just find it. Um, how much of me can I be? That's the question that I want to explore with people, is really, we all have these aspects right inside of ourselves, and we have these things inside of ourselves that we deem as undesirable, but somebody else could see that in you and think that's the most beautiful thing, the most vulnerable thing that you possess. So it's really about allowing all aspects of you to come forward and be seen. And when we do that, we actually attract all the experiences into our life that are fulfilling,
Yes.
because we get to be who we are, and then we attract what we need.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I'm going to be starting a podcast, and that's kind of in the making now. And then going to be doing just kind of my coaching and developing courses for people on how they can make this transformation happen. So yeah, just kind of working on that sort of stuff.
I love it. What's your podcast going to be called?
Inspired to Be Authentic.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just doing all the research now on kind of getting everything together, and then I'll start filming. I'm going to do it like how you're doing it. So I'll do video and then upload the audio as well. So I'm going to have the channel on YouTube and also the channel on the podcast network. So
Yeah, it's such a learning curve. I mean, I've been thinking about doing this for months and months and months, and
Hmm.
haven't done anything, and haven't done anything, and haven't done anything because it takes so much time to for me, and energy, honestly, to sit down and learn technology.
Yeah,
And then, here we are, isolated in our homes, and I thought, well, no time
let's
like
do it.
the
Yeah,
present. Might as
exactly.
well start doing it.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with it evolving as I learn.
yeah, yeah.
You're
I
doing more
definitely.
research up front, though. Good for you.
Yeah, I've learned the hard way to do it like that though, because I've done a lot of development of things, so building courses and um, writing my book. I just wrote my first book and all those things. And when you do the research up front and you get it all out of the way, it's there's more flow, I find. So I've been doing a lot of research. So this week and next week are dedicated to just watching YouTube videos on tutorials of how to do it properly, and then I'll start incorporating all the stuff that I need to make it happen. So
For you.
yeah. I love this too. Like, I can't believe I haven't started a podcast sooner, because I excel in conversation. It's where I feel most at home, and the most myself is when I get to talk in a Q&A style.
Yeah. Well, you're a very curious, and like you say, authentic
Yeah,
person.
thank you.
And I think you connect well in conversation. And so, yeah, I think a podcast would be great and come really naturally to you. It would be such a good
Yeah,
fit.
yeah, thank you.
I'm
I'm
excited to
excited.
see how that goes. So I
Yeah,
have a question about you. When you talk about, you decided to take a break from social media and, go back inside yourself and get very still.
yeah.
And you said, love yourself.
Hmm.
What, like, tell me about a day when that's happening. What are you doing?
I would say the biggest thing was allowing me to just be. Um, like, most of my life, I've been a perfectionist, and perfectionism is all about, well, first of all, it's a mask we wear to cover up shame, and it's portraying an image of having it all together. But we can also do that with ourselves when we wear this mask of perfectionism. We do it so other people can see us as how we want to be perceived, but we also develop habits in doing that we do to soothe ourselves. So when I feel unworthiness, I clean. I make my external world feel perfect because my internal world isn't. So what I've learned to do is I've learned to allow myself to experience what I'm feeling, and that's the biggest gift I've been able to give myself. Because when a feeling arises of self animosity, my instinct is to try and change it or fix it. And I believe that every feeling we experience is meant to be experienced, including shame. Every feeling has a purpose. And if we can start to look at what's the purpose of this emotion, as opposed to immediately just having to reject it or repress it, we start to work with the energy underneath that emotion. And the work I've been doing in the last while is really about um, allowing myself to experience, because what ends up happening is repression creates layers inside of us. And I was a master repressor for many, many years, almost 2 decades, where I didn't allow myself to feel emotions. So I was a master repressor for 20 years. And basically what I was doing is I was like stuffing everything down. So what ends up happening when we do that is we develop these layers of energy inside of us. And one of the best gifts we can give ourselves is the knowing that when we are allowing ourselves to feel our feelings and think our thoughts, that we're releasing, we're transmuting and discharging that energy inside of us. But the mistake people fall into is they think that when they think these old thoughts or they feel these old feelings that they've been trying to get away from for so long, they have the thought of, oh, here we go again, I'm back at square one, nothing's changed, I've never learned. But what we're doing is we're releasing. So as we learn to sit with ourselves, we start to peel back these layers, and we create space inside of ourselves for joy and love and authenticity and connection and all of these things to occur, because without the spaciousness inside of ourselves, we can't have those things, right?
Got it.
And relationships is a big one. We can't have true and authentic love without spaciousness inside of ourselves, because we always feel the need to use the other person to soothe what's happening inside of ourselves,
Mm.
right? Because we feel too full, we feel too stressed. So it's really just about letting go. So when I talk about, loving myself, that's what I'm talking about, is allowing myself to be as I am in the moment to which I find myself. It's very important.
Okay, so for the listeners out there, they're getting confused. So they're thinking, okay, so if Matt cleans to soothe himself or to try to, establish control or a sense of perfection, or, to repress his feelings, what about when Matt just needs to clean? How
Yeah.
does Matt know whether he just needs to clean or whether he's cleaning to soothe himself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the intention behind the behavior. So as you get to know yourself and you develop a relationship with yourself, the feeling that you find yourself in before you need to clean is the feeling you need to sit with, and you need to say, okay, what's going on here,
Yes.
right? And again, if we're practicing allowance, the intention is the only thing that matters. The behavior is okay. Engage in the behavior if you need to, right? But know why you're doing it and develop that awareness and become the presence of you cleaning, as
Got it.
opposed to it being an automatic process where you just fall into this behavior and you just do it. And the whole time you're doing it, you're thinking about how sad you are. Clean and do what you need to do, but also be present with yourself and be aware, right? It's
So just
very, very
mindfully
important.
doing all things, like really mindfully, focusing on what you're doing and how you're feeling and what your intentions are.
Exactly.
So if I'm
Yeah.
going to bake a pie
Yeah.
tonight and eat it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Just get in touch with what's driving that. Am I soothing
Yeah.
something, or, just be honest
Yeah.
and have the feeling and eat the pie and, what else is going on?
Exactly.
Okay, that
Exactly.
gives me great permission to make a pie.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what this is about, right? Like, and I've worked with people with emotional eating and food addiction for the last 7 years. Like, I've been doing a lot of work in that area, and that's what it's about. It's about being mindful and being present. And some days we're going to not engage in the behavior, and some days we are.
Yeah.
But when we are, can we be present with the person inside that's calling for us to fill the void? That's the befriending that needs to happen. You need to befriend that person that feels in so much pain inside of us that we feel the need to engage in that behavior, right? And that's the same with all addiction, right? It's
Yeah.
exact same, no
Well, all the
different.
self-soothing that we do.
Yeah,
Like, it's the reason why I'll watch
exactly.
Netflix and play Sudoku.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
holy smokes, Maureen, have you got enough going
Yeah.
on here? Like, are you
Yeah.
avoiding it well enough, or like, don't let a crack,
Yeah.
go open up? It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
all kinds of behavioral and
Yeah.
substances that we use, behavioral things and substances to feel good, to feel
Yeah.
different, to feel
Ex-
better, right? To avoid.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Exactly.
a
So how
master.
can we develop compassion in that
Hmm.
for ourselves, as opposed to shaming ourselves when we do it?
Hmm.
Because the shame perpetuates more and more of that behavior, because it's escapism, and we need to escape shame. So if we approach shame with compassion, we no longer feel the need to escape from it, and then it dissolves. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like taking the back door. It's like taking the back door to solve your problem. You're not going at it through the front door, because that would be shame on shame. But if we're going through the back door and being gentle with ourselves, we're going to end up, finding more peace within.
So, Matt, do you journal? You must.
I don't journal.
Okay.
I write down a lot of ideas, and I have to-do lists, and um, what I do, I guess, yes, I do journal, but I don't like journal, like,
Like a
whatever,
daily
April
count of your
6th,
day. Yeah.
like it's, yeah, but I do write a lot of little sticky notes, and I have a little meditation area behind us here, and I have all my little sticky notes there, and I kind of go through them, and I use them like cards, and I pick out one and I work with it. So yeah, I do a lot of writing.
Mhm.
And to be honest, my writing, my posts that I put out on social media is my journaling.
Yeah.
That's all me processing my own shit. And
Yeah.
I just feed it out in a content driven way. And so, yes, I guess I journal.
It's
Just
great
share it
though, Matt. I
publicly.
love it. Like, I think I just feel so honored, honestly, to read it.
Yeah, that's
Like,
really
it's
nice.
so
Thank you.
real and it's so courageous and it's so vulnerable, and I understand that you're processing and evolving as you're going, but what a, like I say, what a privilege to be able to follow that journey with you. It's very generous
Yeah.
the way you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Thank you.
I really love it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love what you're doing. I mean, it's just, I'm so glad to hear that you're not being exclusive to gay men, because I have a friend who really wants to get in touch with you and work with you, and
Yeah.
she's a hetero female. So she's I said to her, well, I'll talk to him tonight and
Yeah. Yeah.
see if he's open to that, because I'm not sure or not. But
Yeah.
okay. So you've written a book. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is I was attracting. Do we have a time delay at all?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. So my book, so it's called Be the Space. It's an inner, or it's a loving guide to creating inner space through present moment awareness. Um, Basically, I share all my wisdom on how to end the suffering of the mind. And present moment awareness has been a game changer for me in my life, learning how to connect with myself. And present moment awareness is the strategy that I use to start to feel my feelings so I could peel back all the layers of my internal onion. And so I originally started writing the book as an ebook that was going to be around 40 pages, and I was going to give it away for free as a um, attached to one of my courses. And then I started writing, and I was like taken over by this I believe it was one of my guides. I was just typing, and all of these ideas were just flowing out of me. I give half the credit of that book to my spirit guides and half to my human self, which is like kind of neat because the book is actually a mixture of my own human journey and then also this very kind of wise wisdom that I say I don't take credit for that. It was somebody else writing that for me. And so yeah, it's just a book, a guide for people to use to start to get in touch with their presence.
Good for you. And so it's done, and it's being, and it's out.
It's out. Yeah, I released it as a Kindle ebook first, and then I just released it as a paperback. So that's they're both on Amazon right now.
That's awesome. So you're gonna have to tell us how to find that. Okay. So why don't you tell us then how to find you and how to find the book?
Okay. So the parent of my business is Matt Landsiedel Coaching. So I just have a website, mattlandsiedel.com. So it's MATTLANDSIEDEL.com. And that basically is just a website with everything that I offer and all my services. The book is actually on the website. So under books and courses at the top on the right, you'll see a tab there, and you can find the book on that page as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and then I have a Facebook page, social media page, but everything is linked on the website. So if you just go to the website, you'll be able to find me through all my channels.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to put those links in the show notes as well, if anyone's struggling to find that, because there's a bit of a lag in the audio. So if people didn't catch all that, it'll be in the show notes. So Matt, if I was
Okay.
your target audience for the book, who am I? Who should be buying your book besides everyone?
You know, yeah, honestly, like I know that's in BNI and any of those things they don't say everyone, but it really is a book for anybody that has a mind that they feel is more in control of them than they are of it.
Okay.
I'll put it like that, because I think we all get to these places in our lives, whether it's stress or anxiety or depression, where our mind has more say on our lives than we do. And to I like to teach people how to create the distinction between them and their mind, because we are not our minds. Our minds are an extension of who we are, and we create our self-concept and our identity and our problem solving and all this stuff in our mind, which makes our mind extremely beautiful. But there's something um, much more profound about who we are, an energy, a collective energy that we all kind of are, and it's the seat of consciousness that is able to watch, right? Like I was able to know what I just said to you. How is that true if I'm not my thoughts, right? um or if I am my thoughts, I should say. So to be able to kind of develop that present moment awareness, to be able to kind of watch yourself think, it really is the gateway to our liberation and to our joy, and to have more love in our lives, is to be able to be present with ourselves. So yeah, learn how to master your mind instead of your mind mastering you. That's what I always say.
I love it. So you just brought to mind something else that I heard recently. We are not our emotions.
Yeah,
What do you think of that one?
yeah, it's yeah. I grappled with this one for a long time, and actually, about less than a year ago, I had an argument with a woman on my social media, and she was saying, "You're not your emotions," and I'm like, "Yes, you are. How could you not be your emotions?" And as we know, there's nothing ever in absolute, right? We are not, you can't just say we're not our emotions and just leave it at that, period, right? It's because that's not in total truth either.
Right.
But emotions tend to be the body's response to the activity in the mind. And if we're not our thoughts, how can we be our emotions in totality?
Yes.
But there's a difference between emotions and states, right? So emotions that are created by the activity in the mind, such as jealousy, fear, envy, all that sort of stuff, those aren't states. Those are fear. But joy and love and peace, and those are all states that we feel. So that's my distinction. So we have to understand the difference between an emotion and a state to understand, but that what we feel, because we still feel our states, is us, and then what isn't us would be the emotions that are clouding us based off of the thoughts that we're thinking,
Okay.
right? And when you get present and you move down into your body, because presence is all about leaving the mind, entering the body, and we have two chambers in our body. We have the outer body, which is the shell to who I am, and then we have the inner body, which is the essence to who I am. And both of those can create connection. The shell creates sensation, whereas the inner body creates connection with divine, or connection with other, in a very, very raw and authentic way. And both are very beautiful, but create a nice spaciousness to be able to be who we need to be.
Okay. So you talk about shadow, you've talked about your
Okay.
adolescence. What kind of inner child work did you do, and how did you do it? If you did.
Yeah, I've done lots of inner child work. I think just trying to go back to my experiences with that. A lot of my inner child work came around abandonment and feeling very unsafe as a child in my own experiences. And I talk about this openly in my book as well. But feeling very unsafe in my thoughts and my feelings. And I was an empath, and have been an empath since I was born. But I didn't know 25 without knowing it. So it was very painful for me, because I didn't know why I was feeling so intensely all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And feeling the need to escape myself, because I couldn't handle the thoughts and feelings that were going on. But a lot of it wasn't actually mine.
Mm-hmm.
It was family, and it was other people around. I've been working on is really just about nurturing and parenting the child that didn't feel like it got what it needed emotionally growing up. So I didn't feel like I got emotional safety growing up. And so that was a big part of it. So holding space for my inner child, talking to my inner child. And I think a lot of the shame healing work it set my inner child free. because my inner child's been held back by perfectionism and shame. And now it's feeling like it can be more playful. And the thing about authenticity is that's where we actually get to thrive in authenticity, is our through playfulness and allowing our inner child to come out and play. Because the inner child does not give a shit what other people think. Children just do what they need to do, right? They don't have the ego developed yet, where they monitor themselves, so they just are in their own pure blissful essence. And so authenticity is a real beautiful gift for inner child work.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, Matt. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know that you are busy. I know you got a lot going on, and I know that you are far, far away and in a completely different time zone. And I love that you've carved out an hour. What time is it there now? It's 8:53 here in Calgary.
It's 10 a.m.
Okay,
here.
nice. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. And so I hope you come back in June.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get back there in June. Ideally, I'd like to come around that time. It's perfect. It would give me a few months to be in Calgary and see my family and friends and my nephew and my cat and all that sort of stuff, and go from there. So
Okay, well, I'll be following you along on social media, and I'm gonna poke around and look for this book, and I'm gonna check out your website, and I'm gonna put it all in the show notes. And thank you
yeah,
very, very much, and have a great day. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is the anniversary of you.
yes,
Tell
yeah,
us.
yeah. So yeah, today's 10 years since I have been clean from crack, because I was a crack addict for from the age of 17 to the age of 24. So I today, April 6th, 2020, is exactly 10 years since I've been clean and sober from crack cocaine. So
Wow, man, congratulations.
yeah,
Wow, like I can't believe how far you've come in 10 years.
right. I know it's
Amazing.
I can't even picture myself being that old person, but it's interesting. I have moments where I still feel like that was just yesterday, and then I have moments where I feel like it was completely a different lifetime. So it's interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
all has
Thank you.
served to help you help others. And that is incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, Mr. Matt,
All
we'll
right,
talk soon.
sounds good.